Hi, my name is Katie Demko, and today I'm going to be discussing mindfulness. Some of the things that we're going to look at is we're going to define mindfulness, discuss mindfulness in the media, learn the benefits of mindfulness, and engage in different mindfulness techniques. The first thing that we're going to look at is what is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness can be broken down into a couple different parts. It's about being present in the moment, creating a spacious mind, paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally, practicing non-attachment, and urge surfing. This is a good quote and says we should appreciate the here and now because it is only here and now. Rather than focusing on tomorrow and all of the things that you have to worry about, focus on what you're doing today. And if you start focusing on that, mindfulness will start to change your brain. So you'll become more aware of your surroundings, you'll learn to accept the things you cannot change, and you'll really be present in the moment. So mindfulness isn't about thinking less, it's about not getting lost or caught up in the stream of automatic thought. So one of the things that we can look at is really being present in the non-present. Think about a time where you were driving home from work and you all of a sudden just ended up in your driveway. You don't exactly remember taking each and every turn. It's just something that your brain has been trained to do. You go straight from work home every day, and it's something that your brain can automatically do on its own. That's kind of the present, being non-present in the present. Rather than focusing on everything going on around you, you start becoming almost mindless, so non-present. So this can actually end up having a lot of negative effects on your life. You're going to start missing out on a lot of things. What if there was a beautiful sunset on your drive home and now you don't necessarily remember that? So according to social psychologists, we actually are not paying attention to the present moment 50% of the time. So one of the biggest things that I've noticed is really just not being present in class or at work. And one of the biggest factors is just having access to all this technology. And we're going to discuss technology a little bit later, but one of the big things that you can do is just refrain from checking your phone or doing another task. I know it's so easy when you're at work, you're on a computer to think, oh no, I forgot to pay this bill, and really just get on and pay that bill really quickly. Well, each of those little tasks add up. Suddenly you start thinking about all of your money problems that you're having. You start thinking about all of these other things like I have to go buy groceries. Each of those little things is going to start adding up. And instead of being mindful, you're going to start thinking about everything that you need to do tomorrow or when you get home from work. And you're not going to be as productive as you should be. So this is a pretty good illustration of that. Is your mind full or are you mindful? Now, one of the things that I've noticed with today's society is everybody walking around on their phones, texting, and not really paying attention to what's going on around them. We already know that that's pretty dangerous in general. People walking into traffic, people tripping and getting injured. But it's also taking away from what's going on. Maybe you missed a friend that's passing you on the street. Maybe that friend was having a bad day, and seeing you would have made it a lot better. Maybe you're having a bad day and seeing that friend would have made your day better. Maybe there's a beautiful sunset that you're missing. We as humans have anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Now, 98% of those thoughts are the same as we had the day before. That means that we're constantly stressing out and thinking about things from day to day to day to day. It's very easy to get brought down by something that happened the day before and to keep that thought in your head. Rather than learning and moving on from them, we can sometimes get caught up in replaying the moment over and over and over in our head. 80% of our daily thoughts are negative. That means that we're letting those negative thoughts recycle through our brain over and over and over again. So one of the ways that we can start to fix this is just focusing on mindfulness. Now, mindfulness can be very uncomfortable. It starts off with us asking ourselves, to change the way that we're thinking every day, to stop distracting ourselves. And that can bring up some questions. What if I can't change? What if it's beyond my control? What will I just have to accept? And this can cause a lot of discomfort. That negative thing that happened to you yesterday, it's now out of your control. Focus on what you can do today to make things better. So this is kind of how thoughts can change our entire attitude for the day. I already mentioned that 80% of our daily thoughts are negative. So if you constantly let those negative thoughts consume you, you're going to end up having a bad day. One of the things that you should do, on the other hand, is acknowledge that negativity, accept it, and let it pass. If you can successfully do that, it's not going to bring down your entire day. Now we know that negative thoughts are like a domino effect. Once you have a negative thought, if you let it consume you, your entire day is ruined. That can start to change a lot of different things. So say you had a bad day at work. You now come home and you really don't feel like cooking because you just want to go to bed because you had a horrible day. That can change your diet habits. You don't want to work out because you're exhausted from the horrible day that you had. And so now you're not going to exercise. That can keep leading to a pattern of unhealthy eating and a lack of exercise, and can bring down your entire mood. It's been proven that exercise can affect your mental health. And so if you're constantly skipping on exercise because you had a bad day, it's going to end up cycling over and over and over again. So one example is if you do horrible on an exam. And now, instead of letting it pass, you're now going to start thinking about it. Now, there are two ways that you can think about it, and we're going to kind of go over them here. First, if you start to think, I can't do anything right, you let that exam just weigh on you. Now you're going to be in a horrible mood, and that just might trickle down and lead back to you not studying, not being productive. You're too tired to get out of bed because you did horrible on this exam and you really don't think that you can do any better. So we need to really just pay attention to our thinking. Instead of thinking, this class always bores me, find a way to make the class more exciting. Find a way to change what you're learning, maybe relate it back to your everyday life. If you're constantly thinking all of these negative thoughts, like the ones that are listed here, it's going to bring down your entire day, bring down your mood. This is all because your feelings influence your behavior. So I kind of talked about this earlier with more like the physical side of it. So if you're having a negative day, you might not exercise, you might not eat healthy, you might get brought down, you might stay in bed, but it can also affect how you approach the entire world. So say somebody says something negative to you, and you stew on that, what they said, and you have a bad day because of it. Are you going to turn back around, be sarcastic with somebody else, yell, kick, scream? All of these things are an effect of the negativity that's going through you. Now, a lot of these are automatic, and it's not something that you can necessarily control. So what we want to do is control how we're processing the negative thoughts in the first place so that it doesn't get to this level. So this is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness creates a pause, and so you really focus on that here and now. It creates room for a new story that allows you to feel compassion for yourself. And you're less likely to react in those automatic, impulsive ways. Now, we've seen a lot lately that mindfulness has been huge in the media. Here are just some examples. It was recently on Time magazine's cover, on the cover of Scientific American. There's a 60-minute special on it. There's Anderson Cooper presenting on mindfulness. There has been a lot of studies done, and it's really slowly starting to be brought into the limelight. With all of that, like I said, there have been a lot of studies done on mindfulness and mental health. The Army Health actually came out with a ton of research on mindfulness, and they showed that when you practice mindfulness, your brain communicates with the rest of your body and helping you to reduce many adverse health effects. So if you practice mindfulness, you're going to see a reduction in blood pressure, a reduction in acute respiratory illness, a reduction in IBS symptoms. Some of the other things is it reduces anxiety, depression, stress, relieves pain symptoms. It really focuses your attention, and it can also help in relationships. And we're going to see kind of some of these different effects in a little bit. One of the ways that we can be mindful is to start meditating. Meditation has been proven to do absolutely incredible things. It as well can lower BP. It relaxes the nervous system. It relieves muscle tension. It can relieve insomnia. And there are all sorts of different types of meditation that you can do for each moment of your day. There's certain meditations you can do right before bed to help with insomnia. There are meditations that you can do as soon as you wake up to just really help you get a positive start on your day. So because we are looking at mindfulness, one of the things we need to do is understand stress. We talked a lot already about how your thoughts will impact how much stress you feel. Being mindful can help identify and replace those negative thoughts. Sometimes we catch ourselves in patterns. One of the things that I mentioned earlier was urge surfing. So we all know that we have those urges. Some days after dinner, I just have an urge to eat ice cream. When we're focusing on urge surfing, really what you want to do is take a minute. Think about an urge that you have. Really focus on it and think about how that urge makes you feel. So in my case, I'm going to think about ice cream. So really focusing on how ice cream makes me feel. How happy I am when I'm eating ice cream. How great I feel. And really just focusing on it. Now, by taking that and focusing on that urge that I have, I can begin to understand how addicting it is for my body. And urges really have a rise and fall effect on your life. There's different levels of intensity. So you have really, really high urges. Some days I'm really, really craving ice cream. And other days I have no craving for it at all. Now, if you think about urge surfing is thinking about yourself as a surfer. So no matter how high that wave of intensity gets, you can ride it out. You don't need whatever it is that you're urging. You can keep pushing through it, and eventually that urge will crash back down again. So kind of focusing on that in terms of mindfulness, you kind of have to accept that, yes, you cannot control everything, but you can change your perspective on the situation. So right now I know I'm craving ice cream and this is how it makes me feel. But I know that that intensity is going to crash at some point. And you can do that with all sorts of different things. It doesn't just have to be the urge surfing. You can look at, okay, I have this stressor in my life. And instead of focusing on that stressor and all those negative things, really focus on, okay, but what am I doing to change that stressor in my life? If I have a test next week, am I studying to prepare myself for that exam? There are some things that you can control like that. But like I said, there are some things that you cannot control. That bad interaction you had with a coworker yesterday, you can't control what's happened in the past. You really need to focus on the future. So here's some of the top reasons that people are stressed: job pressure, money, health, relationships, poor nutrition, media overload, sleep deprivation. Stress levels have been soaring in the last 30 years. Women, young people, and low income Americans are the most stressed. And if we go back and look at some of the top reasons that people are stressed, we can begin to understand that a little bit. Obviously, low income families are very stressed. That comes with the job pressure, the money, and most likely the health and poor nutrition aspects as well. All of these things are going to end up going hand in hand. So if you have poor nutrition, you're probably going to be sleep deprived. If you are having problems with work or money, then it's going to lead to that poor nutrition, which is also then going to lead to sleep deprivation. And most of the time, and I know at least in my life, there can be a focus on the unhealthy management of stress. So instead of taking a second and taking a deep breath and being mindful, we can somehow just get caught up in the moment and leave these frantic lifestyles. Poor diets, shopping, meaningless sex, eating our comfort foods, drinking our alcohol, smoking, medicating with drugs, keeping busy, all of these things help distract us from our stressors. But all of these things are a negative way of managing our stress. These are some of the ways that stress can affect your health. It can give you problems with sleep, difficulty thinking, poor emotional well-being, poor mental health, chronic illness, and it can have a huge effect on your immune system. So one of the things that we can do is we can bring mindfulness into managing our stress. Rather than focusing on all those unhealthy reliefs for stress, we can know our limits and stick to them. We can identify our vulnerability to yes, differentiate between should and must, set boundaries, and practice self-care techniques. This is another pretty good quote. It says, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes a day. Unless you're too busy, then you should sit for an hour. And it's one of those things, on a good day, you might not necessarily need as much meditation. 20 minutes is a good amount of meditation. But if you're having a crazy day, take a little bit more time for yourself. On those days, really focus on being present in the here and now. And that'll help you throughout the rest of the day. I mentioned earlier that mindfulness can help improve relationships. Some of the benefits of mindfulness are it fights memory loss. If you think about memory loss, if you're forgetting anniversaries and weddings and birthdays, all of those things are going to hinder a relationship. It helps you cope with anxiety. If you're anxious, their chances are that you're going to make the person next to you anxious as well. It helps regulate your emotions. You know, emotions play a huge part in relationships. It can fight depression. It can fight PTSD. One of the most important relationships, probably the most important relationship, is your relationship with yourself. And that's something that we, in today's society, should really focus on, is loving yourself first and then others. And if you can learn to be mindful and really focus on your positive thoughts, that's going to help you push love back out into the world. So mindfulness and technology. I mentioned earlier as well that technology is present everywhere and can be a very huge distraction in our lives. So one of the things you can do is set intentions about when and how to engage with technology. Where is it beneficial and where is it getting in your way? If you are recording an entire concert, are you really focused on the people playing in front of you, or are you focused in the moment that you're living in right now? Budget the time you spend in digital information world and plan times to unplug. For those of you that have iPhones, Apple released new screen time, which is actually just a software already built into your phone, and it'll track how much you're using certain apps and technology and monitor how well you're doing about avoiding those. Social media anxiety is huge in today's world. We see it more and more with more people on social media coming out about how it is affecting their everyday lifestyle, how it is leading to their depression. People are constantly searching for likes and friends through social media rather than focusing on really doing things for them and taking care of themselves. So, being mindful is an everyday thing. Every day, you should focus on creating a calming, centered daily ritual. You can create a physical or mental space to unwind. You want to go someplace without a lot of outside noise. Now, there are a lot of apps that can actually help you with this. Headspace is a great app. They do have a lot of free daily meditation tutorials, and you can just go on there and set how long you want to meditate for 1 minute to 20 minutes, and really kind of it leads you through meditation. It leads you through being mindful and teaches you the best way to be mindful in your life. So schedule self-care during your day. Some little things that you could do are just taking 5 seconds to put lotion on your hands and close your eyes and just breathe. Every day you should take breaks. That's just a way to disconnect from whatever it is you're doing. 5 to 10 minutes. One of the best ways to do this is actually do some at your desk yoga. That can be if you're studying all day, if you're at work all day. There's all sorts of different ways that you can be mindful, and that mindfulness can work for you. I always like to say that being mindful and focusing on meditation is just like working out, except you're working out your brain. When you go to the gym, what do you like to do? I know for me, I don't like to do cardio. I typically focus more on doing the weights, and I still incorporate cardio into my daily routine. But there are some people who like to focus completely on cardio. Think about mindfulness and meditation in that way. There are some people who like to do an hour-long yoga routine every single day, and that is their mindful. There's some people that wake up every single morning and take 5 minutes just to meditate, and that's all they need for their day. There's some people who like to take a 5-minute break every hour, every other hour, just to take a couple deep breaths. There are so many different techniques you can do to be mindful. So here's some examples of just some desktop yoga stretches, and there are a ton of them out there if you Google them. This can help your body too. You know, when you're sitting hunched over a computer all day, your body is taking a beating. So if you just take 5 minutes every hour, do some stretches, stand up, it'll help your body, it'll help your mind. You can also use your commute time to and from work. I know my favorite thing to do is listen to my favorite artists on the way to work. And that just kind of gets my mind in the zone for the day ahead. It lifts up my mood. Before going to bed, you can engage in some uplifting, restorative practice like reading or stretching. It's been proven that if you read at night or really just take a couple of minutes to meditate rather than focus on screen time, it can actually completely change your sleep. You can also do some gratitude reflection. Think about your highs and lows for the day. One of my favorite things to do is to look at my rose, my bud, and my thorn of every day. So first I look at my thorn. What was one thing today that I didn't like? I take that thought, I think about it, and then I push it out into the world. And I say that I'm done with this, that it happened, and I'm moving on. Tomorrow's a new day. I look at my rose. I look at all of the positive things that have happened that day and the things that I am gracious for. And then I look at my bud, the thing that I am excited for tomorrow. That's not a stressor in your life. That's something that you are so excited that tomorrow you get to see one of your best friends. It's something that is genuinely just making you excited for tomorrow. Now, there are a ton of resources out there. Like I said, there's already a ton of different yoga stretches that you can do at your desk, but there's also a lot of different apps. As I said earlier, Headspace is a really good app, and they do have a lot of free options on that app. There are a lot of other videos out there that are listed. There are a ton of books out there as well. And this is a good video that we're going to watch.
We live in an incredibly busy world. The pace of life is often frantic, our minds are always busy, and we're always doing something. So, with that in mind, I'd like just to take a moment to think, when did you last take any time to do nothing? Just 10 minutes, undisturbed. And when I say nothing, I do mean nothing. So that's no emailing, texting, no internet, no TV, no chatting, no eating, no reading. Not even sitting there reminiscing about the past or planning for the future. Simply doing nothing. I see a lot of very blank faces. My thinking is it's probably have to go a long way back. And this is an extraordinary thing, right? We're talking about our mind. The mind, our most valuable and precious resource through which we experience every single moment of our life. The mind that we rely upon to be happy, content, emotionally stable as individuals, and at the same time to be kind and thoughtful and considerate in our relationships with others. This is the same mind that we depend upon to be focused, creative, spontaneous, and to perform at our very best in everything that we do. And yet, we don't take any time out to look after it. In fact, we spend more time looking after our cars, our clothes, and our hair than we... Okay, maybe not our hair, but you see where I'm going. The result, of course, is that we get stressed. You know, the mind whizzes away like a washing machine going round and round, lots of difficult, confusing emotions. And we don't really kind of know how to deal with that. And the sad fact is that we are so distracted that we're no longer present in the world in which we live. We miss out on the things that are most important to us. And the crazy thing is that everybody just assumes, well, that's the way life is, so we just kind of got to get on with it. But that's really not how it has to be. So I was about 11 when I went along to my first meditation class. And trust me, it had all the stereotypes that you can imagine, sitting cross-legged on the floor, the incense, the herbal tea, the vegetarians, the whole deal. But my mum was going and I was intrigued, so I went along with her. I'd also seen a few kung fu movies, and secretly I kind of thought I might be able to learn how to fly, but I was very young at the time, you know. Now, as I was there, you know, I guess like a lot of people, I assumed that it was just an aspirin for the mind. You get stressed, you do some meditation. Hadn't really thought that it could be sort of preventative in nature. Until I was about sort of 20, when a number of things happened in my life in quite quick succession. Really serious things which just flipped my life upside down, and all of a sudden I was inundated with thoughts. Inundated with difficult emotions that I didn't know how to cope with. Every time I sort of pushed one down, another one would just sort of pop back up again. It was a really very stressful time. I guess we all deal with stress in different ways. Some people will bury themselves in work, grateful for the distraction. Others will turn to their friends, their family, looking for support. Some people hit the bottle, start taking medication. My own way of dealing with it was to become a monk. So I quit my degree, I headed off to the Himalayas, I became a monk, and I started studying meditation. People often ask me, you know, what I learned from that time. Well, obviously it changed things, you know. Let's face it, becoming a celibate monk is going to change a number of things. But it was more than that. You know, it taught me, it gave me a greater appreciation and understanding for the present moment. By that I mean not being lost in thought, not being distracted, not being overwhelmed by difficult emotions, but instead learning how to be in the here and now, how to be mindful, how to be present. I think the present moment is so underrated. It sounds so ordinary, and yet we spend so little time in the present moment that it's anything but ordinary. There was a research paper that came out of Harvard just recently that said on average our minds are lost in thought almost 47% of the time. 47%. At the same time, this sort of constant mind wandering is also a direct cause of unhappiness. Now, we're not here for that long anyway. But to spend almost half of our life lost in thought and potentially quite unhappy, don't know, it kind of seems tragic, actually, especially when there's something we can do about it. When there's a positive, practical, achievable, scientifically proven technique which allows our mind to be more healthy, to be more mindful and less distracted. And the beauty of it is that even though it kind of need only take about 10 minutes a day, it impacts our entire life. But we need to know how to do it. We need an exercise, we need a framework to learn how to be more mindful. That's essentially what meditation is. It's familiarizing ourselves with the present moment. But we also need to know how to approach it in the right way to get the best from it. And that's what these are for, in case you've been wondering. Because most people assume that meditation is all about sort of stopping thoughts, getting rid of emotions, somehow controlling the mind. But actually it's quite different from that. It's more about sort of stepping back, sort of seeing the thought clearly, witnessing it coming and going, emotions coming and going without judgment, but with a relaxed, focused mind. So for example, right now, if I focus too much on the balls, then there's no way that I can relax and talk to you at the same time. Equally, if I relax too much talking to you, then there's no way I can focus on the balls. I'm going to drop them. Now in life and in meditation, there'll be times when the focus becomes a little bit too intense and life starts to feel a bit like this. It's a very uncomfortable way to live life when we get this tight and stressed. At other times, we might take our foot off the gas a little bit too much, and things just become a little bit like this. And of course, in meditation, we can end up falling asleep. So we're looking for a balance of focused relaxation where we can allow thoughts to come and go without all the usual involvement. Now, what usually happens when we're learning to be mindful is that we get distracted by a thought. Let's say this is an anxious thought. So everything's going fine, and then we see the anxious thought, and it's like, ooh, didn't realize I was worried about that. You go back to it, repeat it. Oh, I am worried. Oh, I really am worried. Wow, there's so much anxiety. And before we know it, right, we're anxious about feeling anxious. You know, this is crazy. We do this all the time, even on an everyday kind of level. If you think about the last time, I don't know, you had a wobbly tooth. You know it's wobbly, and you know that it hurts. But what do you do every 20, 30 seconds? I don't know. It does hurt. And we reinforce the storyline, right? And we just keep telling ourselves. And we do it all the time, and it's only in learning to watch the mind in this way that we can start to let go of those storylines and patterns of mind. But when you sit down and you watch the mind in this way, you might see many different patterns. You might find a mind that's really sort of restless and the whole time. You know, don't be surprised if you feel a bit agitated in your body when you sit down to do nothing and your mind feels like that. You might find a mind that's very sort of dull and boring, and it's just almost mechanical. It just sort of seems it's as if you're just sort of getting up, going to work, eat, sleep, get up. Or it might just be that one little nagging thought that just goes round and round and round your mind. Whatever it is, meditation offers the opportunity, the potential to step back and to get a different perspective, to see that things aren't always as they appear. You know, we can't change every little thing that happens to us in life. But we can change the way that we experience it. That's the potential of meditation, of mindfulness. You don't have to burn any incense, and you definitely don't have to sit on the floor. All you need to do is to take 10 minutes out a day to step back, to familiarize yourself with the present moment so that you get to experience a greater sense of focus, calm, and clarity in your life. Thank you very much.
So that's a great way of looking at being mindful. Instead of trying to ignore all of those negative thoughts or all those negative things that happened. Focus on them in a different way. So, as I stated earlier, there are different ways of being mindful and paying attention to meditation. So, like I said, again, it's just like a workout. It takes practice. It's something that you need to start off slow and work up to. So you can begin with just 5 mindful breaths in the morning and 5 mindful breaths before you go to sleep. You can just sit 5 or 10 minutes a day and just relax for a minute. You can work up to 15, then 20 minutes. And just like working out, it's something you're working out your brain. You have to do it every single day. So, as I said, it's just like going to the gym. Focus on one thing. If your mind wanders off, take notice it wandered and shift your attention back to that one thing again. And keep doing this over and over and over again. And really, this will keep working on strengthening your brain. So now we're going to look at how to partake in just a good deep breath. Those 5 breaths in the morning, those 5 breaths at night. So just take a minute. What we're going to do is inhale for 4 counts, hold our breath for 4 counts, and exhale for 4 counts. And we're going to do this 4 times. So go ahead and inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now just take a minute and do 3 more of those breaths. Now notice, how does your body feel? If you're taking deep breaths in and out, it's going to slow your heart rate down, which is then going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest nervous system. So here is that breathing, just so you have it. Now we're going to do one more exercise. So go ahead, find a comfortable position. You can do this laying down. You can do this sitting in a chair, sitting on the floor. Your spine should be erect but not rigid, so you don't want to have a ton of tension in your spine. Now scan over your entire body. Release any tension that you have. So I like to start with my head, working your way down your shoulders, into your back, down your arms. Release that tension in your fingers and your toes. And really bring your attention to your body. Now you want to tune into the sensations of your body. How's your breath? Maybe focus on those 4 seconds. Inhale, holding it for 4 seconds, releasing for 4 seconds. And really focus on that breath coming in and out. Whenever your mind wanders off, notice it. And then gently guide the attention back to your breath over and over again. So this is just a step of meditation. Now, even if you need to do that just for 1 breath cycle or 5 breath cycles, that's good just to get you started. You want to practice 5 to 30 minutes a day to really get those lasting positive results. So once again, here's that full practice for you. Now that concludes today's lecture. One of the most important things I want you to remember is mindfulness is just like working out. The hardest part is going to be getting started. So what you want to do is just focus on maybe those 5 breaths in the morning, 5 breaths at night. It takes practice to see those results. So once you start doing those 5 breaths in the morning and 5 breaths in the night, maybe add something to the middle of your day. And just remember that it is different in everybody's eyes. Mindfulness is not something that is universal. Your mindfulness is going to look completely different than somebody else's. So whether it is you're taking an hour every morning and doing yoga, or doing 20 minutes of meditation before bed, or even just 20 minutes of reading before bed, or doing that rosebud and thorn exercise, mindfulness should be customized to you. Thank you.